This evening, we're gonna hear from the candidates for 3 offices that touch the daily lives of every resident in the county. We're gonna hear from, first up, the County Assessors, and they're already sat. Please give them a round of applause. Okay, good. And now that you got it out of your system, we're gonna wait till the end for everybody's applause, okay? So that we can continue the forum in a smooth motion. But after the assessors, we're gonna hear from the county judges who are sat behind them, and then the Board of Supervisors at the end, right? In no particular order. Every role is super important to the Imperial County decision-making ecosystem. But before we move on, we want to express our extreme gratitude to the Hidalgo Society for hosting us tonight. Please give them a round of applause. I saw some representatives in the back. Thank you so much, Mr. Councilmember Galvan, for hosting us. And if you weren't here last Thursday, you missed it. We had a forum for the candidates that are running for the Assembly District 36 and the IID. And that will actually be available on YouTube by this weekend. And I want to say that we'll be able to have the video or the footage from tonight's forum available next week, but I don't want to put Ben Dorantes on the hook for that. So. All right, with that, on your way in, there was a lot of sort of papers and a lot of tables that you could have visited with the candidates, but if I could get the question table in the back to wave your hands. On your way in, you were given blue slips of paper. Throughout this forum, we're gonna be collecting questions for the Q&A portion of it, and so you have until the last prepared question from the candidates to go submit your question to the question box, and then they will bring them here, and then we will ask them. All right, some more logistical things. The restrooms are behind us, women's and men's over here, and the emergency exits are the door that you came in, and then over here to your right-hand side. And we just want to ask that everyone agrees to spend this time together respectfully. You know, we understand the significance of all of these races. We want to ensure that every candidate and every audience member is treated with dignity. And one note about the format, again, candidates we're not given the prepared questions in advance. And so all of the questions tonight are tailored to the responsibilities of each of their offices. It's going to be a great night. We're so excited to host you. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to my co-host and moderator, Francis Beope, President of the Democrats United Imperial Valley.
Thank you, Brian. I'm going to be going over the code of conduct with everyone, but I also want to say good evening. Welcome, and I'm glad that all of you are here and really want to know what our electeds are considering and how they're going to represent us, because your vote really counts, and it's important that you get all your family to make sure they register to vote and that they go out and vote. As we talk about voting, I want you to know that we are transitioning into a new voting process this coming primary. We are no longer going to have precincts on the day of election like we're used to. We are now going to have voting centers. We're going to have 3 major voting centers starting up 11 days prior to the election, and we're going to have one in Calexico, one in El Centro, and one in Brawley. And then 3 days before the June primary, we are going to open up precincts, or a precinct in every township, but we have the list of the voting centers and the townships in the back. So before you leave, make sure you pick up that information, because it's going to be critical during the election.
And with regards to the upcoming elections and all of the changes happening to our current election model, we want to ask that you visit the table over here to the far right that says Make a Plan to Vote, where you can find information about anything regarding your voting center and that sort of information, and it'll be catered specifically to your specific polling place.
That's a new program we started, which is pretty exciting and very informative. The other thing I'd like to add is that there has been a change with the U.S. Post Office receiving and passing and returning mail ballots. So we are recommending that 90% of people right now are voting by mail. With your mail ballot, please return it and put it into the official mail ballot drop-off box that you have in all of your major cities and towns. And those ballots will be picked up daily by the registrar of voters. So it's really important. The reason we are recommending that is because if you submit your mail ballot and take it to the post office and just drop it off in their mail drop-off box, it will not be stamped until it leaves the center from where they're all sent, and it comes back to the distribution center, and it comes back to Imperial County, to the different cities, which means that you may miss the timing of the election and your ballot will not count. But the sure way of making it count is to put it in the official drop-off boxes that the registrar of voter has in every town, and all the addresses are in the back with the flyer. So please don't hesitate to pick one up and take one for yourself and for your neighbor as well. So now I come to the part of code of conduct. It's very, very important that you withhold your applause, because I know everyone has their candidate, and if your candidate says everything you want them to say, you get excited and stuff, but if you can withhold your applause, it really makes for a smoother forum so that we can keep on going. We have a lot of candidates today, which means it's going to be a long forum. So please withhold your applause to the end of our last presentation with a group of electeds, and we would really appreciate it. No booze, okay? In addition, we want you to be respectful of every candidate, including the candidates themselves. Some of these positions are getting really hot, and some candidates have a tendency of losing. They're not as respectful as they should be or could be, so we are encouraging that all of you please be respectful of each other, and you set a good example for all of us when you do that. Anyone who interrupts will be warned once, and a second occurrence will result in being escorted out of our venue. We are here to become better informed voters, and with the less disruptions, we will have a smoother forum as we go along. Brian?
Thank you, Francis. All right, now that Francis had laid down the law for us and for tonight, we're ready to kick off our first series in the forum with the assessors. So we begin tonight with the race for the Imperial County Assessors. The Assessor's Office is responsible for valuing all taxable property in the county, which directly determines the tax revenue that funds our schools, roads, and public service. We have two candidates for the County Assessors this evening. Each will have 2 minutes for an introduction. And please note that the candidates have not been given the prepared questions in advance, and the questions tonight have been tailored specifically for each of their races. So it's going to be Mr. Menvielle first, then Mr. Avila, and then we're going to go through the prepared questions, Q&A, closing statements, and then we'll move on to the judges. Sound like a plan? The one thing that I do want you guys to be mindful of is they're timed. So please pay attention to our timekeeper over there. You will have 2 minutes for your opening statements. And Robert, whenever you are ready.
Can you hear me in back? Okay. Good evening. I'm County Assessor Robert Menvielle, and I'm seeking your vote for re-election as County Assessor. I have worked in the Assessor's Office for 33 years. For the past 11 years, I've been your elected County Assessor. I'm proud that the office has improved its efficiency and productivity. Much of that is due to the use of technology and staff training, which I have implemented. These improvements include implementing computer-assisted mass appraisal programs. I have worked to improve the public's access to online services. Business owners now have online business property filing. This allows them to file their property statements, which saves time and money. The public has online access to forms, partial maps, property assessment information, and basic property characteristics. The assessor's office, like all departments, must operate within the budget approved by the Board of Supervisors. Unfortunately, budgets for general fund departments have declined, although our workload continues to increase. That is the reason that we need to continue to implement more technology that allows our staff to work smarter. My goal has always been for the assessor's office to provide excellent customer service. We have been able to maintain that service while continuing to provide fair and equitable assessments for all property owners of Imperial County. The work done by the staff of the assessor's office matters to everyone, both property owners and those who depend on public services. I remain accessible to all. I'm dedicated to the fair and equitable treatment of every property owner. I have the experience, knowledge, and vision to get the job done, and I would appreciate your vote on June 2nd. Thank you.
Alrighty, Ricardo, the timer has been set whenever you are ready.
All right, before I start, I want to thank the Imperial County Democrat Central Committee for hosting this forum and everyone here. My name is Ricardo Avilia, and I'm running for Imperial County Assessor. I was born and raised in the Imperial Valley and very proud to consider myself a Valley native. I come from a family who was raised by a dad who has pride in being a farm laborer. I am the second oldest of 4 siblings. We were raised outside the country in Brawley and attended Magnolia, Brawley, and IBC. I began my career as a public servant for the County of Imperial early in '93 as an extra help for the road department. In '94-95, I got the position of civil engineer technician for the survey department. In this position, my knowledge of the historical background of surveys and mapping became a key tool for what was to come. In 2001, I started as a cadastral mapper for the assessor's office. As a cadastral mapper, I was in charge of creating, issuing the parcel numbers created by maps and deeds being recorded. I helped transform the title and had complex of multi-legal descriptions. I was involved in starting the digitizing of all the maps to electronic format, which is now being used for the GIS base map. In 2005, I was given an opportunity to work for the engineering company as a director of fields operation, which gave me the management and leadership skills to be able to run the assessor's office. As a director of fields operation, I was in charge of scheduling and settling the daily work goals for the survey crew. I also assisted in performing field surveys, writing legal descriptions, drafting maps, and most importantly, coordinating complex projects between developers and contractors with my staff so that projects would not be delayed but finished and completed on time. In 2016, I returned back to the assessor's office as an appraiser. I'm currently an appraiser 3 working in industrial, commercial, and ag. With the knowledge and experience in the various sections in the assessor's office combined with my management and leadership skills, I am the right candidate for assessor.
All right, thank you both for those introductions and moving very swiftly along here to our first prepared question of the evening. The first question for the assessors is on the subject of the impact of economic development. Imperial County, and for these responses, you will have 3 minutes each. Imperial County is experiencing new development related to renewable energy, Lithium Valley, and potential data centers. How should the assessor's office approach the valuation of large industrial projects to ensure that the county receives appropriate tax revenue while maintaining fairness for taxpayers? And let me know if you need me to repeat that. But if not, Ricardo, you answer first, and then Rob.
Okay, great.
One more time
yes,
for you.
Sir.
How should the assessor's office approach the valuation of large industrial projects to ensure that the county receives appropriate tax revenue while maintaining fairness for taxpayers? And the context was Imperial County is experiencing new development related to renewable energy, Lithium Valley, and potential data centers.
Okay. So with all these new projects, big projects coming into the valley, the assessors, we know they're coming. We got to get the staff involved from the beginning, have everybody from the title to the appraisers knowing what it's going to bring so they can have the knowledge so when the department comes, they know how to assess it, what to assess, and what questions to be looking for. And this is going to be benefiting when we get the knowledge of this for any city, county, and the community in the Imperial Valley. If we assess everything the correct way, and with having all the knowledge of all these programs that are coming in, we will better have a better assessment and will be less likely to get appeals on our big projects. Thank you.
Same question for you, Robert, and let me know if you need me to repeat it.
No, I'll go ahead and start. So Imperial County, many years ago, one of our members of the Board of Supervisors, who's now passed away, said that Imperial County would become the renewable energy capital of the world. That's 20 years ago, and it's taken a long time for that to come to fruition. And we now have close to 30,000 acres of solar energy generation systems. Those are large utility scale solar energy projects all over the county. And more are coming, and we also are seeing integrated battery storage going with those projects, because solar doesn't make energy at night. And so they have the battery storage to store that energy, and then that becomes base load power in the evening when people go home and they need that power. So solar has enjoyed a exclusion from assessment. And that means the new construction exclusion, the first owner of those solar projects is not paying property taxes on the majority of those projects. That's the legislature allowed them to do that because they wanted to encourage solar development. So what we're doing now, that is going to sunset on January 1, 2027. Senate Bill 710 put an end to that for new projects. Projects that are already here will be grandfathered in. So our efforts in the office right now are to make sure that these solar energy generation systems, these utility scale solars, will be paying their fair share of property taxes, so that the burden of property taxes, which funds schools and critical services, will no longer have to always be carried by residential property, agricultural property, small business. And that was what the dream was, I believe, when that gentleman said we're going to be the renewable energy capital of the world. Now to get there, we have staff, I'm hiring staff in our office. I have some very bright people, and you have to know how to do an income approach to value. You have to be able to do a discounted cash flow. These are complex mathematical problems, and that's where the enhanced training comes in. I talked about in my opening statement. You have to have the training, you have to have the computer skills, you have to be able to use spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheet, but mainly you have to understand that in an income approach to value, it's a mathematical formula that you have to calculate. You have to know what that discount rate is. And that's how we're going to assess these large projects and make sure they pay their fair share. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for those responses. And moving on to our second question of the evening, and the topic is housing and property taxes. And Ricardo, you will kick us off with your responses? Or, yeah, right?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Rising housing costs are affecting many residents across the state, including here in Imperial County. How can the assessor's office ensure that homeowners, especially seniors and working families, understand tax protections and credits available to them under state law?
Say one to the beginning part.
Rising housing costs are affecting many residents across the state, including here in Imperial County. How can the assessor's office ensure that homeowners, especially seniors and working families, understand tax protections and tax credits available to them under state law?
Okay. So the assessor's office does have a lot of worksheets that are available to the public. That's from homeowners exemptions, exemptions when people over 55 transfer from residential to a different house. We could transfer their base year value to it. And those are things that I would like to educate the public. even the staff, so when people come into the office, they're more educated, knowledgeable of that information. Sometimes there's calamities that happen in the valley, and people aren't aware of that, where they could be protected for their base year if they decide to build their home, and we would respect that base year value. And there's people that don't apply because they're not informed of that information. So my thing, it would be making community effort to educate and what's available, what forms are out there, what the county assessor's office could provide for the public, so they could be knowledgeable and use and take advantage of all the things we have to offer. Thank you.
Robert, let me know if you need me to repeat the question.
No, I'm ready. So I believe, as the elected county assessor, I believe in safety nets. And California voters in 1978, June 78, passed Proposition 13, and that's the greatest safety net that we have in this state. Because what it does is it allows property owners who own a property, whether it's residential, commercial, agricultural, it locks them into a base year value at the point in time when they acquire their property. And we're always going to have inflation. You're always going to have 2 to 3% inflation in normal times. We've seen outrageous inflation in the past few years. But if you're locked in on that base year value, Prop 13, you're locked into a 2% increase a year. So that has protected many families, because prior to Proposition 13, properties would be reassessed every 3 years, and they would be based on market. And so many people were not able to maintain their homes because they couldn't afford to pay the taxes on them. So Prop 13 has protected property owners. And I am a strong believer in Prop 13, and I work very hard with the public to make sure that they maintain their Prop 13 base year value. Other safety net have been passed by the voters of California. Prop 58 was passed, and that allowed parent-to-child transfers of wealth between families for many years. We have Prop 8. Prop 8 is decline in value, and that means when the value of your home exceeds your Prop 13 base year value, the assessor is obligated to lower your value to market value and review it annually. We have base year transfers. We had Prop 60 for many years, where it allowed base year transfers within a county. Some counties adopted Prop 90, which allowed base year transfers outside from county to county. That was all superseded by Proposition 19 that was passed by the voters in 2020. And unfortunately, Prop 19 greatly restricted the ability of families to pass their wealth on to their children or grandchildren. But the voters passed it, and we make sure in our office that when people come to the counter and they say, what can I do? We make sure they understand you need to file your homeowners, your children, if they're going to live in the home within that 1 year. You need to get your claim in within 3 years to protect that Prop 13 base year value. Thank you.
All right, and moving swiftly along to our final prepared question for the assessors. And the topic is accountability and modernization. And let me see, who kicked us off the last time? Ricardo? Robert, Robert, you will be answering first. I should have just looked at our diagram. Sorry about that, Francis. All right, so the third question on accountability and modernization. Local government offices are increasingly expected to provide accessible services and modern tools for the public. What improvements would you prioritize to modernize the assessor's office and make it more responsive and accessible to Imperial County residents?
Okay, thank you. So what I have done in my tenure as assessor, the first thing is business owners are required to annually file a business property statement. And they need to tell the assessor how much equipment they own. We have taken that, in my tenure, from a paper form to an online filing option. So business owners can now e-file their business property statements. And that saves them time and it saves them money. And it also saves the county time and money because we're no longer mailing those forms out to property owners. I have also made online information available, easier available to the public. The public can now access, they can go to our website and they can find a partial map and download that at no charge. They can also find if they've purchased a home, they can find a supplemental estimator on our website, estimate what your supplemental assessment will be. There's a ability to find property characteristics online. There's ability to find some assessment information online. So you no longer have to come into the office to find that information. Now I understand that many of our residents may not have internet access. They may not have the ability to access that. So we still provide public service at the counter. I still go out into the public and meet with groups and talk to them about what we're doing. So going into the future, what I'd like to do is we'd like to go more online and try to eliminate paper in our office. And part of that is our e-forms. All of the forms that you would need for exemptions, exclusions, any type of claim are available on our website, electronic forms. Now you can fill that out online, but you still have to print that out and mail it into the office or bring it into the office. So what I would like to do, and it's now allowed, one of the things that COVID brought us, the Board of Equalization now allows electronic signatures. So I would like to go to electronic signatures so that property owners could file their forms electronically. They no longer need to mail it in. They no longer need to hand carry it in. So that's my next goal in the office, is to go to all paperless for our counter and our real property and electronic signatures. Thank you.
Can you repeat that question one more time?
Absolutely. So the third question is, local government offices are increasingly expected to provide accessible services and modern tools for the public. What improvements would you prioritize to modernize the assessor's office and make it more responsive and accessible to Imperial County residents?
We've been keeping up with the ages, so we got a lot of digital, electronic, and everything to be up to date. What we need to do is learn and be able to use what we have to its full potential. We don't have staff that could manage or operate the system at 100%. The system that we have is great. It has a great tool. If we learn and use it as 100%, the production, the questions to the public, anything could be provided will be a lot faster, and then we could be providing everything and probably not even having people at the counter, which will make everything flow easier too. So it's more of education again, be able to use all the tools that we already have and using it to the full potential, and that would benefit. So there isn't much to improve on it. It's just polishing what we already have and be able to get the staff on board to use it and be able to provide that information to everybody that comes in.
All right, that's the last prepared question. Now we're going to go into the public Q&A portion of the evening. And so the audience submitted 3 questions. So they submitted more, but these were the ones that made it through. Don't be upset with me and Francis. We just read them. They're collected and chosen in the back. But the first question, and let me see here. Ricardo, you're going to answer first. It's from a resident of Imperial, and you have 1 minute. This is our speed round, so you guys just have 1 minute to answer, okay? How will you measure your success as an assessor, and how will the public be able to track whether you meet those goals?
You can measure it by being present, by being there, by being able to face the public when they come into the office at any time of the day, being disposable to questions from other departments, be able to help other departments when there's issues or concerns. So it's being available not just for the public, but for other departments that help get the assessment out to the public. So if we all work together with different departments, that would make it easy and available for the whole public. Thank you.
Speed round. Okay, so the Board of Supervisors provides a budget for the assessor's office. I make sure that we utilize those. I'm a good steward of those funds, but I make sure that we have every position on our office filled so that we are providing the service that the public needs. I make sure that we use all of our funds as they are supposed to be used for, and that allows us to provide the services that the public needs, whether they're walking in the door or whether it's electronic services. And I have more and more gone to bringing in technology to try to improve our services. So the ease at which the public can come and find the information they need, can access the information they need, that's the sign of success. Thank you.
All right, our second question from the public, and Robert, if you want to catch your breath for a little bit, because you will be answering first, and it has been submitted to us from a resident of El Centro. All right, the question reads, there is a belief that residential property is assessed more frequently than commercial property, causing residential property taxes to go up more frequently. Can you explain if this is true, and do you agree with this practice?
Okay, I mentioned Proposition 13. Mention that again. All property in California is only assessed when there's a change in ownership or a change in control or there's new construction. There's some other cases. Someone mentioned calamity. If your property is damaged by calamity, we will remove value. It's not really a reassessment. It is a decline in value. But residential property is assessed, if you're thinking it's assessed more often that's because it's changing ownership more often than commercial property is and industrial property is. Homes are selling, especially if you have a fairly demanding market where people are looking for housing and you put a listing on the market, it sells very quickly. Well, that's a change in ownership. That'll be reassessed. If that home is flipped in a year or two, it's going to be reassessed again, but only when there's a change of ownership. Thank you.
All right, remember, speed round, 1 minute. Ricardo, same question.
Can you repeat it?
There is a belief that residential property is assessed more frequently than commercial property, causing residential property taxes to go up more frequently. Can you explain if this is true, and do you agree with this practice?
So it's only valued at the time there's a change of ownership. Once it gets its Prop 13, it stays, and that does get factored up every year. So it is not more evaluated more than any commercial unless there is a change. Now, if someone feels that their property is too high or there's been a change, you have every right to submit an informal review, and we can review it. If it does qualify, and we do run a market analysis on it, it could qualify for a Prop 8, and we can place it on our Prop 8 until the market verifies and shows that it goes back to the Prop 13 value.
All right, and the final question submitted from the public, a resident of Brawley would like to know, many immigrant homeowners, especially those with limited English or mixed status families, face barriers in understanding or challenging their property assessments. What will you do to ensure they have equal access to information, appeals, and protection? Ricardo, you're answering first.
I would like to have the staff, and we do have the staff that is bilingual. And we would like to provide that and not be frowned on when being practiced in the counter. If someone does come and they feel uncomfortable, I strongly recommend they ask for someone that speaks Spanish and they could help them translate, because that person might not know what their strong point is, but they could get someone that has a strong point and they could be translating and being helped out so they know and be led to the right, correct answer of what they're looking for.
Okay, Rob, same question?
Yes. So I grew up in Calexico, born in Brawley, grew up in Calexico. So I've watched changes over 70 years. So I know we have a lot of native Spanish speakers here in the county. So what I have done in our office is I've made sure that anyone in our office that's bilingual or Spanish speaking and they want to take the bilingual exam, I have augmented in our budget for bilingual pay for those staff in our office. And we've gone from having only 2 or 3 people that are bilingual to I have 10 allocations in the office. In a 30-person office, I have 10 bilingual allocations. They're paid for they receive bilingual pay for that service, and they're available to the public. Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes the questions from the public, which brings us to the final segment for this forum, which is the closing statements. Robert, you will be kicking us off. You'll have 2 minutes.
I would like to thank the Imperial County Democratic Committee for sponsoring these forums. They ensure that the public can learn about the candidates who are running for public office. I have invested the time over the past 11 years to modernize the assessment process in the Imperial County Assessor's Office by implementing technology and enhancing staff training. I have traveled throughout California to meet with other assessors and their staff. I have met and worked with the board members and staff of the California Board of Equalization. These contacts are important to Imperial County because they allow us to share knowledge and to collaborate on improving our property assessment practices and procedures. Imperial County is not an island. Cooperation and collaboration with other assessor staff and the staff of the Board of Equalization have benefited not only our staff, but also the citizens who rely on the public services that are funded by property taxes. Imperial County is at the forefront of the development of renewable energy resources. The Assessor's Office is tasked with ensuring that these renewable energy properties are accurately assessed so that the county receives the revenue needed to sustain public services. I am running for re-election as county assessor because I'm the candidate who has the expertise, the experience, the knowledge, the certification, and most importantly, the vision to continue to move the assessor's office forward. I ask for your vote on June 2nd. Thank you.
Okay. The Imperial Valley is growing from residential to industrial and commercial. As the growth is impacting the county, the assessor's office should be doing the same to keep up with all the complex projects that are starting. So we need to start as soon as possible and become active and be involved in the process of these new projects. Start requesting information at an early stage with other departments from the county so we can be prepared and not be caught by surprise and be struggling to defend valleys in an appeal. I want education to be a top priority and cross-train staff on new projects coming to the valley so we be knowledgeable on the topic and be better value, so we can better value these projects. In return, the communities, cities, and counties will benefit. I will also review the system that we currently have and use so we can take advantage of it and be more efficient and minimize errors and avoid duplicating work. I would maintain no position vacant for an extended period of time. I will hold myself accountable. I will lead by example, be the first one there and the last one to leave. In the last 4 years, I've been active in the community events and feedback from the community has been positive. I would continue attending events and encourage the staff to participate so the community can learn more of what the assessor's office does and provides. I'm currently being endorsed by the Farm Bureau and retired County Assessor Roy Buckner, and I am reaching out to the Valley for your support, my campaign to be the next County Assessor if possible. It's people like you that will help put the correct person to be in a position to help assist any taxpayer with their property assessments in a fair and consistent manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Please give it up for the candidates for the assessor.